Boeing workers just ended their vote on a new contract. The actual voting wound up about 25 minutes ago, went on all day. Now this, as the company posted a $6 billion quarterly loss as a result of the walkout. We don't know which way they voted, won't know the results of that, but clearly a very important development for Boeing. Everybody watching that. To talk more about this, we're joined by Scott Hamilton. Scott is the founder and managing director of Leeham Company. Scott, good to see you again.
Good evening.
Okay, cool. The big question right now, the vote. We're not going to know the results until when, and I know that you don't have a crystal ball there in front of you, but what do you think the company's hoping for? Obviously, we know what the company's hoping for, but what do you think the concerns are, and do you think this is going to be razor thin?
Yeah, the vote results should be around 9 p.m. Pacific time tonight. All I've got is anecdotal evidence at this point. I think this is going to be too close to call in advance of the results. The two sticking points really are the labor wants the defined pension plan restored that was taken away 10 years ago, and that's never going to happen in my view. And also the starting pay for new entrant employees is only $21 an hour. That comes out to about $41,000 a year. And that, for the Seattle area, just simply isn't a particularly livable wage.
Yeah, I think you got a good point right there. Okay, now a couple of weeks ago, Boeing announced it's going to lay off about 17,000 people because of this strike in large part. Now, a lot of those job cuts are going to include executive managers, employees, but many are going to be contractors. So do you think there's going to be any change in these layoffs? Any promises made for management to the rank and file?
Well, these layoffs really need to happen. Boeing is got a bloated workforce of 171,000 people. When we came out of the pandemic, Boeing's workforce was about 156,000 people. Boeing staffed up on the anticipation that their production rates would return to pre-pandemic levels of 2019. That didn't happen because of all the continuing crisis after crisis, questions about safety that just came up over and over and over again. And then there was the Alaska Airlines blowout in January that was referenced earlier. And Boeing is only at a fraction of where they want to be on production.
Right.
They have just simply got too many people at the company right now.
Interesting. Okay, now Boeing's new CEO is publicly saying what everyone seems to know, that there's no quick fix. And to get the aircraft maker back on firm footing, prior to the union vote, Boeing reported more than $6 billion in losses in their earnings call. So what strategies do you think they're going to have to employ to, A, recoup that loss, and then try to begin these baby steps of rebuilding their reputation?
Well, there are so many things that have to happen that it is impossible to know really where to begin, other than first off, get the strike resolved. The culture within Boeing back in the 1990s was an engineering culture. After the merger of McDonnell Douglas into Boeing in 1997, it became a Wall Street finance-oriented company, and that culture has just deteriorated in the intervening decades. That's got to be fixed, but that's not going to happen overnight. They've got to get the confidence of the Federal Aviation Administration back so that Boeing can ramp up its production back to pre-pandemic levels, pre-grounding levels of the MAX airplane. That's still going to take several years to do that. Boeing has to develop a brand new airplane that eventually replaces the 737. That's at least into this decade.
Yeah, and Boeing
It's
workers.
not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and Boeing workers want to design that and build it in Seattle as well. Okay, let's talk quickly about one of the latest Boeing-related headlines, aside from the vote. We're talking about its aerospace industry. Kind of break it down for us, because one of their satellites, after just 7 years in operation, just imploded. What's being said about that failed satellite, and what impact is that going to have on Boeing's space division, which is still recovering from the black eye involved in its spacecraft fiasco earlier in the year?
Well, my expertise is Boeing commercial airplanes. It's certainly not the space program. So I have no information on why that satellite came apart. Could be any number of reasons. But you're right, the space program within the Boeing Defense Unit is another financial disaster. The most visible thing was the stranding of those two astronauts in the International Space Station because the Starliner space capsule was defective, if you will.
Yeah.
And it just goes on. And there are other defense programs that are billions of dollars over budget, years late, and it's just, seems like it's an infinite set of problems.
Seems like it's just getting worse. Now, Boeing's new CEO, strategy aside, Kelly Ortberg, he is seen as somebody that investors and aviation companies can place confidence in and turn the company's image around ever so slowly. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Ortberg, Kelly Ortberg, the new CEO, in his first public set of pronouncements today with the earnings call, said some really good and candid things, and so that's encouraging. But he's just one guy, and he's got a massive change to make with the executive ranks. The CEO of the Boeing Defense Unit has already gone. We don't know who the long-term CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes is going to be. And the changes have to really go down well into the VP level ranks.
Yeah.
And even down into the middle management ranks.
Okay, I have one final quick question for you. You don't have to answer it, but I kind of hope you do. How do you think the vote's going to go?
I think it's very possible it could fail.
Interesting. Okay, my friend, we certainly appreciate your insight and your expertise as always in the aviation industry. Thank you, Scott Hamilton.
You're welcome.